All right, welcome back to Unleash, the most legit Celtics podcast in the game. Been a while, guys. Missed you. But we got episode number 112 today. I am your host, Ev, at EvGuyBoston on Twitter if you want to find me and follow me and interact with me over there. We got episode number 112 today. We brought on Robbie from AnalyticCity, and he also does a lot of great work with us here at Guy Boston Sports as well, so hopefully you guys can like that video. Make sure to let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the episode and whatnot, but before we get into that, I have a little bit of a Q&A here that I teased on the Twitter, so I asked you guys to ask me some Celtics questions, and I'm going to give you some answers, so here we go. We're going to start the episode like that. First up, we have Chichumi saying, should the C's bring back Isaiah Thomas? I mean, I'm in to bring back Isaiah Thomas. I'm not going to lie. Do I think it's really going to be the building block that wins them a championship? Sadly, no. I think that, he's an undersized guard and everything like that, and that wouldn't benefit the team. But I don't think there's any risk in bringing him back. Like, I don't think he's going to cost a lot of money. I don't think that, if he doesn't work out, it's a big deal. So, yeah, sign me up to bring Isaiah Thomas back with the caveat that I fully understand that it really is for the emotional part of it and not the actual let's go win a championship part of it. Rambler says, how many more trades do you expect? What's a free agent out there that's available you could see actually signing with the Celtics? Dennis Schroeder, man. We talk about it in the episode, too. We give, me and Robbie talk about it on the episode. I really think that Schroeder could be huge here. I think that, obviously I didn't want to pay him the asking price that was originally, $20+ million. The guy's market and value has seemingly just shriveled up. Like, some teams going to get him for half of that for a one-year deal. I'm fine with that being the Celtics. New Pat's order says, do you think there's any validity to the Celtics ownership blocking Danny and now Brad from spending into the luxury tax? I mean, I'm not going to lie. Free agency after free agency would almost say that, maybe that's the case, right? But I just see that I don't see how that could be the case. I don't think any owners are afraid of the luxury tax. Like, these guys make so much money. The teams are profitable. Like, I really don't think that that's what's kind of the holdup here. I think that maybe Brad in his first free agency as a GM is kind of like playing it slow and whatnot. Josh is saying, if the Celtics started the season today and could somehow remain healthy, where in the Eastern standings do you have them finishing? I'm not sold on Smart being our main distributor. Need some perspective. All right, Josh, we talk about that in the episode. I'm not going to give it away. I do ask Robbie the same or similar question, so make sure to watch this episode, the rest of it, to get that answer. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for the Q&A part. Before we get to the episode, I got to let you know, this episode is sponsored by Foco, Forever Collectibles. If you want a bobblehead, that Hawaiian shirt that I wear on stream all the time, the Celtics Hawaiian shirt, it's over on Foco.com. Make sure to use the link that we have with them in the description down below of either this YouTube video, or if you're just listening, it'll be in the show notes as well. All these bobbleheads, damn near 3/4 of them are all sent to me by Foco. Those guys are awesome over there. Shout out to the crew at Foco. So make sure to use this link in the description and head over there and pick up some bobbleheads for yourself, or the Hawaiian shirt, or backpacks, anything. They have all the awesome, exclusive, officially licensed gear for all fans. And make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. We are approaching 1,500 subscribers, and I can't thank you guys enough, so hit that subscribe button. All right, Unleashed episode 112. We're bringing on Robbie from AnalyticCity. Robbie, what's going on?
Happy to be here, Ev. How's it going?
Pretty well. This is the first time that we're meeting. I know we got linked up a couple months back now with Guy Boston and everything. It's the first time we're meeting face-to-face virtually, so happy to have you on the show. Yeah, you want to give an intro of just like who you are, what you do? Maybe just intro yourself to everyone watching or listening.
Yeah, so AnalyticCity, briefly, we are a fantasy projection site. So we help people out with lots of tools and projections for DraftKings and FanDuel contests. We just finished our first NBA season, and now we're gearing up for football. So super excited, got a lot of stuff in the works. And then we also have a basketball blog, which I write, and that's been super nice.
Yeah, it's awesome, and we're glad to have you linked up with Guy Boston too. I know you've done some good work for us too, as well as on your own site as well. So, all right, we got some NBA free agency to talk about. I feel like not much on the Celtics end. We're gonna start there. I feel like the talk of the town right now is how, they're missing out. They're losing on this free agency period. Like, they're not doing anything. You're watching guys get signed left and right, and the Celtics seemingly aren't signing anyone. To me, I want to first and foremost say that I feel like people are harping on this free agency period, but people don't understand how many moves the Celtics have already made this offseason. New GM. I mean, he was the coach. I get it. New GM, new coach, couple trades. So what are you in the consensus with social media that this is kind of a dud of an offseason, or are you, because to me, it might be a dud of free agency. I'm not denying that. But there's some people saying, oh, it's just another offseason that we've seen Danny Ainge do it. What's different about Brad? What do you think?
So I've got a little bit of a cop-out answer for you.
All right.
It's my opinion that, we have the players we need. We have the core we need. And I think it's not extra players we need. It's kind of a mindset change with, first of all, Tatum and Brown getting others involved more. And, secondarily getting shooters and guys that can play off of them. So I think, it helps to get Josh Richardson, a guy that can, switch 1 through 5 or at least 1 through 4 and is super versatile, kind of a guy that Brad likes to get in, like a 6'4" to 6'7" kind of wing. So I like that addition. I love Horford and Cantor. I think they're great locker room guys. And obviously with Rob Williams, young guy, you gotta coach him up a little bit. So I definitely like those additions. But again, I think the most important thing for this team is kind of moving the ball. And so that's a change that hopefully Udoka can put into place. But I think the players are just a little bit secondary to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, I said that about the Josh Richardson signing because, like, I know, and I was too, but everyone was so excited about Moses Brown. He's young, he's super, he's 7'2". But to me, you do bring in a guy like Josh Richardson. I get that it sucks to give up Moses Brown, but that's like instantly a guy that takes any sort of scoring pressure off of Tatum and Brown. Like, that's a guy that can literally go and get you 25 if he needs to in a night, which they haven't had. And that was supposed to be Kemba, but I was a defender Kemba for a while, but we kind of saw him sort of fizzle out. So to me, the moves they've made, it's already setting up for, and we're going to talk about this later on the show, setting up for probably a better season than last year. But I guess my question to you is then, do you think that this free agency, so obviously we just talked about sort of the moves they made this offseason, this free agency period for whatever, the 5 days, whatever it is that we're into it, do you think that they're sort of now falling behind the 8 ball in this free agency? Because yes, they made those trades, they made those moves, but we're seeing guys sign around the league, 2 Celtics competitors. Celtics are losing guys like Fournier. Where do you make out on now the free agency? Because the moves are all well and good, but it seems like there were a bunch of names rumored at the start of this free agency, and all those guys either signed or just kind of falling between the cracks here.
Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for Schroeder. I'm going to be honest with you.
On a manageable contract, I'm in. I like that. If I wasn't ready to pay him, because he turned down like $84 million from the Lakers, right? If he's now his options are drying out, I'm all in on that.
Right, and I think we would be kind of buying him a little bit low, just because he had a bad end to his last season. People aren't too high on him right now. I think he has potential to be, at least for the Celtics, in a role that he could be, 15 to 20 a game scorer for us. So I think he could be really good. So
because he'd be playing for his next contract too. If they got him on a 1-year deal, like I really don't know if I could come to paying him like 20+ million like he declined, but I don't know if that offer's out there for him anymore. I saw half that type of thing. I'm willing to throw that at him, and then he's gonna go balls to the wall trying to play well next year because he's trying to make money in the following year. So I'd be all in on that. And yeah, we got to keep an eye on that because that would be massive. If he comes here, that kind of changes your entire depth, changes your starting lineup. That'd be great.
Right. And I think, obviously the East seems like it gets better every year. It's only, however many years ago LeBron was going through the East like it was nothing. And now it seems like every year there's a few more teams that get better. Obviously Chicago comes to mind first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Chicago, the Heat for me, the Heat are probably mine, but Chicago getting Lonzo, getting DeMar DeRozan, like
they've got quite the core.
Yeah, they for sure did. And then, like I said too, the Heat picked up Kyle Lowry, they got PJ Tucker, they got they still have Bam, Jimmy Butler. Just like it seems like the guys around the Celtics here are getting a little bit better. The Knicks too. The Knicks just got 2 of the Celtics players from last year. So
I like what the Wizards. I like what the Wizards did too. I think, getting rid of Westbrook was, maybe some people didn't like it over in Washington, but I think it was a great move. I think Kuzma is going to come out of a shell. I think Harrell is going to be great. Yeah. I think they got a lot of good pieces there.
Yeah, I think so too. And they're making moves. They have the big trade and everything. They're trying to, from the naked eye, almost looks like they're trying to say, hey, Bradley Beal, like we can we can try and work on this. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's going to happen, but yeah, we mentioned all these teams around there, and then there's nothing notable about the Celtics. I mean, I do like Cantor. I really do. I think that he comes in and he's a really good tool to have in your arsenal, but then you have the Celtics. It's like, oh, well, what do? You have all these teams in the East that did all these, grand moves, and then you have the Celtics. What'd you get? Oh, well, we got a guy that when we had him 2 years ago, sometimes Brad wouldn't even play him night in and night out. He wasn't even a nightly contributor. So I guess by definition, the Celtics have not done anything compared to their competition. But do you think that that's, like I kind of used the phrase earlier, behind the eight ball? Do you think they're giving other teams a head start? They're starting with a handicap, or are they kind of playing it slow and they're going to be fine?
I think again, the biggest changes I think are head coaching change and getting some of these veteran pieces that I think hopefully will change the culture a little bit. I mean, obviously it was frustrating for me. I'm sure you, all your listeners, watching the lack of ball movement last year was really painful at times. So I think that has to be the number one thing on the agenda this year, is getting the ball moving. And I think things will fall into place. Once we start doing that.
And I feel like that comes from this is going to sound weird, but like if guys are just enjoying playing basketball on the team that they're on, they're going to pass the ball. It's going to come like second nature, They're not going to have to worry about, hey, Tatum, you got to work on passing the ball. I mean, maybe he's getting better and better at that. Same with Jalen. But if guys are just like, ride or die with their teammates, that ball movement, that sort of offensive flow is going to come. And I have a feeling, and I'm not breaking any news or dropping any jaws here, but last year just got so stagnant and stale to these kids that they're just like, I mean, I'm just going to get the ball and I'm going to try and go score. Like, what else is there? Like, I'm going to pass to Semi Ojeleye in the corner. Like, that's fun. So, I mean, to me,
we'll miss him though.
Yeah, I think I have a feeling Semi's going to go to the Bucks, and now he's just going to be like a perfect player for them. He's going to drop 20 on us next time we play him, because that's just how the guys that we let go of go. But yeah, it is a little refreshing to hear guys like, even I know that trade still, I guess, is working on, but like Chris Dunn, like, could he be a factor? All these names that you've heard of, maybe they give you a little bit more, because the Celtics right now at guard are Marcus Smart, Peyton Pritchard, and then Chris Dunn, which is super, super thin.
So we'll see what the summer league holds. Maybe Yamadar can show something, or our rookie Yuhan. Who knows?
Yeah, both of those guys have talked like they want to make an impact. It's easier said than done, but Yam was like, yeah, I'm not going back. I'm not going back to Israel. Like, I'm going to play this year. It's like, oh, all right, well, that's good. Yeah. Do you have any confidence in those guys? I know you said you want Schroeder, so take him out of the rotation, for example, or Schroeder, I guess. I feel like he changes his name like 10 times a year. But any of the guys that we have right now, what are you confident in that rotation?
I mean, I think Marcus Smart had a down year last year. I think, I don't have the 3-point percentage off the top of my head, but he shot worse last year than he did in the previous years. So I think and of course he had an injury of some kind. I think it was a hamstring.
Yeah, it was like Achilles or hamstring. I remember he hurt it against the Lakers, was it?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think, and we've seen in the past, he can really be a facilitator. There were times when I thought he was the best passer on the Celtics. So I think he can be that point guard role. Yamadar, obviously, all I've really seen of him is highlights. So I'm super curious to see what he does in summer league, what he can do. But at this point, I think most likely scenario is Smart starts at the 1, and we fill it out with either Neesmith or Richardson, someone else, so that we can have a big lineup that Brad likes.
Yeah, because I think it's inevitable. Like, if Marcus Smart's on the team, I don't think Pritchard's starting over him, and then you're even relying on a second-year guy. Like, that's super risky. And I know people love Pritchard and what he did last year, but you can't forget too, the kid, like, he just disappeared multiple times, like, during games, and that's fine. Like, I'm not knocking him for that, but for him to be your now backup point guard, I do think you have, I guess, an issue until proven otherwise. Like, he needs to prove himself. So being able to kind of run bigger, maybe you say Josh Richardson or Tatum becomes a little bit more of a point. Like, there are options here because you're getting guys, I guess Josh Richardson being the notable name, that can handle the ball, can make things happen with the ball, can do a lot of different things. So I'm liking the idea of Smart, Richardson, Tatum, or Jalen Tatum and Rob Williams. And then maybe it's Al Horford. Who knows, like, how they want to play it. But the starting lineup isn't as bad as some people might think. Like, I think that that's a better starting lineup than, probably when Kemba was out, I guess. Just because you throw in Richardson and all of a sudden it's like, okay, boom, you got a guy that literally, he's not, maybe he doesn't drop 20 a night for you, but it's a guy that has, you can't even count how many 20-point games he's had in the NBA. He's a legit player. So,
Right.
I like that. I do kind of I guess I won't say that the Celtics will contend next year unless they do get another guy, which I think Schroeder probably is the only name available that's going to almost, I'd say, not put them over the top because I think they're still a couple years away. But to me, it's like this team, as comprised right now, I think just kind of turns into a better version of last year, where you probably don't have like the annoyance factor, you don't have the frustration, but they're still probably, outside of the top 3 in the conference, or hopefully in the top 4, but definitely not towards the top of the conference. I guess we could jump to like, what's your expectation? If you look at this as a whole, everything we've learned so far, what is your expectation for next year?
Just a point about what you were just saying. I think people forget with Josh Richardson, with Miami and with Philly in the past, he was more of a primary ball handler, and he was a scorer for them.
Yep.
He can shoot it. Obviously, we know what he does on the defensive end, but I think, a lot of times with guys like this, he just came from Dallas, where obviously it was a weird situation with Luka, and obviously it was tough for him. He got taken over essentially by Tim Hardaway come playoff time. But I think he could have a resurgence with the Celtics. Sometimes it just takes a new scenery for a guy and new teammates to kind of get back to their old ways. So I think Josh Richardson could be a key piece for us.
Yeah, I mean, it was either, his last year or second to last year with Miami. I think he literally was a 20-point per game scorer. Like if he and those numbers are here. They're there for the taking with the Celtics too. It's like you have 2 guys that are the primary scorers right now, and then you jump to like a Marcus Smart or something like that. So there's no reason why, if anyone at any point in the Kemba tenure here thought that, hey, you could have Kemba score 20 points, you could have Tatum score 20 points, you could have Brown score 20 plus points, there's no reason why you shouldn't be thinking that about Josh Richardson, just based on probably like a year and a half of him sort of fading into the, background there when he wasn't really the primary ball handler for his teams. But that'd be incredible. I still think, if you could have Schroeder, Josh Richardson, Tatum, and Brown all, combining for what, maybe 70 points a game, that'd be absurd. 70 seems like low too when you think about the average that they could. So that would be absolutely incredible. So I definitely don't want people, and I've said it on the show, on the channel, and on Twitter, like you can't underrate or underestimate, I guess, what Josh Richardson probably not even can bring. I think it's more or less like what he will bring to the team. Like I think he's going to fit and going to play really well. So back to that question too. So with that being said, and forget, where they are right now, forget the possibility of Schroeder or any other free agents out there. Assume Marcus Smart is still on the team. Where we are right now, where do you see this team going? Because like I said, I'm probably looking for more information before I lay my final claim of like where they're going to be. So everyone listening and watching, I think that this is Robbie's informed opinion up to this point. Things can change, but where do you think, seed wise, end of the year wise, how are they finishing? Where are they getting to? What's going to happen? Type of thing as they are right now. Yeah,
I mean, I think it would be naive to think that anything could happen to make us get ahead of the Nets or the Bucks.
Yeah.
The Sixers too, I think you can throw in that category.
Yeah.
All 3 of those teams are juggernauts at this point. They're going to be coming with similar rosters and some of them with additions. Obviously, I think Patty Mills is going to be huge for the Nets. So I think definitely not in the top 3.
That was another guy that I was kind of hoping for. A cheap guy come in. I get that he's the undersized guard that no one wants type of thing. Like no one wants another small guard here, but a veteran guy that still has like the quick first step and everything. I would have loved to see him here. And then to see him go to the Nets type of thing is, I feel like we've seen that a few times now with guys at the Celtics were like rumored on, and then they go to the leader. It's so frustrating.
But yeah, after those three teams, I mean, the Heat are obviously another team in there that you got to worry about. Now with Lowry, it adds a whole nother aspect to their roster.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we could be at around that 5 spot, which is a fine position to be in. You know, obviously, if you're playing well at the right time, anything can happen come playoff time, obviously. So
yeah, and that's so much better. You were in a play-in game last year. You know what I mean?
Right.
To be a 5 seed and probably, you know, if you're playing well enough to be the 5 or the 4 seed, the only reason you're not at the 1, 2, or 3 type of thing is because of how good the teams ahead of you are. So it's not even like I honestly think that, and the Celtics are a big team with fan expectations and whatnot. Like that's obviously a huge thing year in and year out. That's the type of performance that, you know, no one wants to be like, oh, our team's a 5 seed. But coming off of last season and coming off of what they did last year and how they played and how bad they played sometimes, I have a feeling that would be sort of a breath of fresh air to the fans. And then also just to like the players, and like they would feel like they took a step up. And that's what I'm kind of always not afraid of. That's not the right word, but thinking about Tatum and Brown and having these sort of like, hey, you know, we're not getting better this year. You know, I want to be here for my whole career. I've said that, but at what point are we going to, you know, start the climb? Like, I get it, we're young, but we're ready now type of thing. So as long as there's this progression, I honestly think that Tatum, Brown start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And not that it's pitch black right now, but, you know, neither one of them can be happy with how the season went last year, you know, especially when they were feeling they were playing so well. Tatum almost being an all NBA and Brown being an all-star. Like, to me, it is about those two guys. And like, you have to make progress to make anyone want to stay in this league. Like, I get it. Tatum's on record being like, I want to play for 1 year or one team for my whole career. Brown saying he wants to go to war for this team and wants to stay here type of thing. That doesn't matter. Tomorrow that could change if they feel like they're being, you know, just kind of tugged along.
We've seen it happen before. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think that this league could be a pretty big example of that. Nevertheless, the Celtics in the last couple of years. So, I mean, it's totally true. So I think we're in a similar boat. We have them at the 4. 4 is probably like the goal because, you know, you have the juggernaut teams up top. 5 seed, I think. I honestly still think, you know, you end up maybe, you know, taking whoever you're playing against, but like a second round exit. But again, that even still is going to end up being somewhat of a step up. So I don't know how much I hate that. And we are forgetting, like we're talking about, you know, how this team got better in the moves they've made, but there could be such a, and we've talked about it too though, but there could be such a culture shock in a good way of bringing in a new coach and maybe the guys do like Brad as the GM and all this. And it's like, oh, well, actually, we do have Tatum who can play like a top 5 guy. We do have Jaylen Brown, the all-star. Maybe we get a resurgence from Josh Richardson, and then all of a sudden you start realizing, oh, damn, we are closer to the Nets, the Bucks, and the Sixers than we think. So, you know, it's like, yeah.
And how about Rob Williams, who is going to be in a position, if he's starting, I mean, we've seen what he can do in, you know, when he gets more than 20 minutes, he puts up some crazy stat lines. So
how many blocks did he have against the Nets there in the playoffs? I forget what it was. But
it might have been 8.
9?
It might have been
8 or 9.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think potential quadruple double this year for Rob Williams.
He is a sneaky good passer. Like he's a sneaky good passer. But it is like, think about that. If he takes the step, like I think it's you and I probably included are kind of weighing last year in our minds, maybe too much, but like what else would you do? You know what I mean? That's the last Celtics basketball you've seen. But if this team comes out and Jason Tatum has a fire under his ass, Jaylen Brown has that look in his eyes, you know, Udoka wants to have these guys play with some balls, like all of a sudden you are thinking like, oh, well, the juggernauts up top, I feel like we're just as juggernauty. You know what I mean? Like we have veterans, we have the young guys, we have our core. Like there's very little the Celtics are missing if everyone were to play to sort of their peak potential, you know, like they have all the pieces, but it's a matter of, okay, well, if one of those pieces kind of flop or fail, then what do we do? Because they don't have the depth or the guarantee that these guys are going to go and play like they should, other than Tatum and Brown probably.
Right. And I mean, if this year didn't teach us anything, if this year taught us anything, it's that, you know, injuries, who knows, by the time playoffs come, a team can have a great year, but one injury to the Nets or the Bucks, and all of a sudden it's wide open. So
Yep.
that 5 seed can all of a sudden be a pretty good spot to be in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do have the expectation, if I were to use that word, expectation, that this year is going to kind of open my eyes, open a lot of people's eyes, and kind of remind them of like the fun Celtics basketball, just because it is a breath of fresh air. But I think I've made it clear, and you have too, like how much I'm also hoping for the fact that it does just get slightly better as a product as you're watching, night in and night out. This is not a team that it's like, if I didn't love and, bleed green for this team type of thing, I wouldn't be watching this game. I want to be able to enjoy watching the games again and have fun doing it, and then have fun talking about it, which, that's never gone away. But everyone that, has ever done a podcast or written a blog about the Celtics or about any sports in general, it's more fun when you yourself are genuinely having fun and not doing it just to do it, or doing it out of spite for the team.
Yep. Again, I think a lot of that comes with the movement.
Yeah.
Ball movement. The number of times I was screaming at my TV last year, move the ball. It was frustrating.
Yeah. And then that was the thing too. And then this is my last little tidbit on that ball movement though, is Brad. I remember they were playing the Sixers, a nationally televised game, and Brad, they interviewed him at like halftime or whatever, and he's like, yeah, no, we got to stop the ISO ball. We're doing that a little bit too much. And then, they're playing that clip that happened like 10 minutes beforehand or whatever, and then legit like 3 straight possessions, you see ISO ball. And I'm like, okay, well, Brad will tell millions of people watching at home, but he clearly didn't tell a single person on the team in the locker room. It was just, it was
or they didn't listen.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe he was saying it, or maybe, yeah, that could be too. So hopefully we have that whole sort of culture change, and things just kind of click, because we have seen, Tatum and Brown both be in a similar sort of offense where, yeah, they can get their numbers, but they are moving the ball. And I think back to that run without Kyrie, without Gordon Hayward, it's like, I know they were young and less sort of premier players, but Tatum wasn't a good passer then. Brown wasn't a good passer then, but the ball flowed through the offense. It wasn't just hey, Tatum, you can't pass. It was more or less this team knew where each other was going to be. The ball was moving, so that could be a huge thing. And I think that does end up resulting in sort of better play. I think, no one is shocked by that statement. So we got our fingers crossed or hopes up, but yeah.
I know I've been dissing the lack of ball movement, but I really do think Tatum and Brown are going to come out with that being their main priority this year. And I think I really am hopeful, and I do expect a big change in their games. So I have a lot of confidence. So, we see it with a lot of young guys that, they come in and they're great scorers. They have all the talent, but it takes them a little bit to figure out how to get their teammates involved and when to pick their spots. And I really could see both of those guys making that leap this year. So yeah, excited to see it happen.
Yeah, for sure. And then just like sort of to piggyback off that, I think when we both say like ball movement too, we're not saying like, oh, Tatum, every time you touch it, now you got to pass and try and get like 10 assists a game. Tatum, at the end of it, he could start with the ball movement commences, and he could end up being the one that scores on the back end. You know what I mean? Like, we're just looking for the offensive flow. It has nothing to do with, oh, well, he's shooting too many field goal attempts a game, or Jalen shoots too many times when he touches the ball. It's a matter of being in a rhythm, and they probably will have more shots attempted per game than they did last year. But how did you get to those shots? And, how did you play off of each other type of thing is, I think, what we are definitely focusing on. So I think that's a good point. Any last sort of things about next year that you're looking for, or anything around the league at all?
I guess I'll just leave it with a hot take.
Oh, okay.
I think barring him being healthy for enough games, I think Rob Williams could have an all-star season.
Oh, I love it.
I think we've seen what he's done in such limited minutes definitely last year, but even prior years. And I think with this opportunity all the lobs and the putbacks, and obviously we know what he does on the defensive end, but a lot of people don't know his passing. He's a great passer at the top of the key, great in the pick and roll. So I think he could have a huge breakout season. And I think it all depends on if he's healthy and if he gets the minutes.
And I'll say this: I love that hot take, and I'll make it even hotter. I'll sizzle it up a little bit too. If Robert Williams is an All-Star, I think this team's at the top of the East, and that'd be incredible.
Yeah.
You have three All-Stars; they're firing on all cylinders. They're younger than any other core out there. That would be absurdly amazing. But
Yeah.
I do like that because it's a hot take. But to your point, like if you were to look at any of his sort of, hey, when he plays, look at and compare it to other All-Star bigs and whatnot,
Right.
he's an all-star already. It's just a matter of can he do it for a longer period of time. He's got the skill already, which probably is the hard part. And he's already done it. So can he
Right.
just stay on top of it and be healthy and everything like that? So I love that. I do like leaving the show that way too, because I think that is like if that happens, people are looking back on this saying Robbie had it first. So let's see if that happens. But all right, Robbie, you got anything going on that you want to tell anyone listening or watching where to find you, where to follow you, what you got going on? So feel free, plug away.
Yeah, just appreciate that. Just check us out at AnalyticCity.com. We're coming out with a lot of, you can always check out my blog, but we're going to be coming out with a lot of NFL different tools. If you play fantasy football, we got a lot of cool stuff coming out. So we're excited for you guys to see it.
Yeah, and make sure to follow him too. You got a couple different Twitter accounts associated with the site, but Analytic City is the main one, and then I think you have is it Analytic City DFS?
Yep. So Analytic City is the main one, and then at City Analytic. So just the opposite is our DFS account. So all of our daily fantasy sports content.
Yep. So make sure to go follow him there. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at FGuyBoston. You can follow Guy Boston on Twitter at GuyBostonSports. Robbie, thanks for coming on. I think we'll have you on to revisit once Robert Williams is an All-Star. I think we can come back and have you take your victory lap too.
Good. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll see you.